Okay, so this is day 3. So here, okay, again, we're going to use that box of the identities. So the goal is to make everything into a sine or a cosine, right? So in this case, since the cosine is already a cosine, we're just going to leave it as is. The tangent from the box will be sine x over cosine x minus sine x cosine squared x. None of that changes. So here, this cancels. So I have sine x minus sine x cosine squared x. Okay, now, from here, you see how you have two terms separated by a minus. Both of the terms have a sine x. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to factor out a sine x. When I factor out a sine x, from here I just have a 1 left, minus, here when I factor out a sine x, I just have cosine squared x left. Okay, so this is equal to sine x times this from the box is cosine squared, that from the box is sine squared x. So altogether, this is sine cubed x. Okay, next. Here, I have tangent x, which is sine x over cosine x, plus cotangent x is cosine x over sine x, all over tangent x, which is sine x over cosine x, all from the box. Now in the numerator, I have to add two fractions, but they have different denominators. I need to make them the same denominator. So what I do is, I'm going to multiply each fraction by the denominator of the other one. So the first fraction, I'm going to multiply by sine x over sine x. And this one, I'm going to multiply by cosine x over cosine x. Okay, so do you see how now the two of them have the same denominator? And that denominator is sine x cosine x. Okay, what do I have in the numerator? I have sine squared x plus cosine squared x over sine x over cosine x. Okay, from the box, this is equal to 1. So now I have 1 over sine x cosine x over sine x over cosine x. Okay, fraction divided by a fraction, you take the first fraction times the reciprocal of the second. Cosines go away. I have a 1 on top, sine squared x on the bottom. Okay, here, from the box, 1 plus tangent squared x is secant squared x. Cosecant squared x, we're just going to copy it over. Okay, now we have to write these in terms of sine and cosine. Secant squared, secant from the box is 1 over cosine, but since it's squared, I square it. Cosecant is 1 over sine squared x. Okay, same thing, 1 fraction times the reciprocal of the second fraction, and I get sine squared x over cosine squared x. Okay, next. In this one, I actually have a typo. This should be 1 minus sine squared x on the bottom. Okay, so I have cosine squared x on top. This from the box is cosine squared x. And together, that makes a 1 because they cancel. Okay, next one. Secant squared x minus 1 from the box is tangent squared x over secant squared x. Okay, what's tangent? Sine over cosine. So squared is sine squared over cosine squared over 1 over cosine squared x for the secant squared x. Okay. You can do the reciprocal, but also you can see that those two cancel. So I just have sine squared x. Last but not least, tangent is sine over cosine of theta. Cosecant is 1 over sine of theta. Cosine is just cosine. So 1 cosine cancels with 1 cosine. 1 sine cancels with 1 sine. All go away. I end with 1.